thing.
Yeah.
I think we've got that taken care of now for now.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
thank you guys for joining us. We are here live at the World Showplace at EPCOT. And joining us this afternoon is Tim Burton from Burton's Maplewood Farm. Now, we were so glad to come in here when they first opened up the International Food and Wine Festival here. When the EPCOT reopened, we came into this place. Not only is it air conditioned, it's got lots of good food, but at the very backside is your booth here. But this is not the first time you guys have been to Disney and provided Disney products. So I just want to kind of give you the floor. Tell us what have you done as far as developing these relationships and working with Disney as providing your maple syrups here for Disney guests to try, and not just here, but also on the West Coast.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. So Disney World reached out to me maybe 3 years ago. Could have been 4. Time goes by pretty quick. And so the first interaction that we had was over at Animal Kingdom. And that was Party for the Planet was the festival.
Oh, yes.
And,
yes. It was basically like an Earth Day celebration, correct?
Right. And so executive chef Al Youngman was the executive chef over Animal Kingdom, and he wanted to feature our syrup on the menu at Tiffin's during Party for the Planet. So when we were approached about it, we said absolutely. It would be a great partnership. And so then
and Tiffin's is a great
later,
restaurant for your syrups as well, because it's it's a signature restaurant within the park. So
it was so nice, and we came down to visit to meet the team there, and they were so gracious. They really rolled out the red carpet, but I think they do for everybody that comes down. They make you feel very special. And so we went to Tiffin's, and they did some special chocolates just for us with using our maple syrup. And so we were down for a couple days and had a really great time. And about a year later, Chef Al was promoted to food and beverage director of EPCOT. And so I was contacted again, and they said, hey, Chef Al is now the food and beverage director of EPCOT, and we'd like to know, would you like to partner with us at the International Flower and Garden Festival? And so my wife, Angie, and I talked about it, and we said, that would, again, be a great relationship. And so we did. And then it just went right into food and wine last year. And so we were there for the entire duration of food and wine, and we were received very well by many of the guests. And so that's how that relationship started. But then to go one step further, after we were there last year, we then reached out to Disneyland in Anaheim, California. They also have a food and wine festival.
Yes, very much so.
In California Adventure. And so they had invited us to come out and sample and sell our maple syrup. And so things were going great until COVID hit.
I know.
COVID hit, and then the brakes were slammed on everybody across the United States, including us. So we packed up our syrup and loaded it back up in the cargo vans and came back to the farm in Indiana. And but everybody's dealing with this.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Then we were reached out again by EPCOT saying that it's not going to be the full scale, but we are going to have a taste of EPCOT food and wine. And so we had a lot of product there already from Flower and Garden. And so we sent product down. We developed relationships with several people from that participate in Dapper Days.
Yes.
And Carrie Myers was involved with it.
Carrie is right there behind us right now. She's hi, Carrie. She does a great job of making sure guests are welcome and coming in, and they get to try your products before they have an opportunity to purchase them.
Yeah, and so I reached out to Carrie and I said, would you be interested in being the event manager? And she said, absolutely. So Carrie was the integral part of this whole thing, reaching out to other Dapper Day people, putting together the staff and a schedule. And that's why we're there, is because of Carrie and the I call them our maple mavens.
Yes, we
Yeah.
got to meet them when we came the first time, and I will say they do an amazing job in your absence of taking care of your booth. We,
Yeah.
And now normally you're actually here as well. In
yes.
the if it
Correct.
was circumstances like ourselves. Carrie was
Right.
telling us that you've got lots of guests who are returning to Epcot and wanting to know where Tim is. So you've got quite a reputation here as far as Epcot is concerned. So that's good.
Yeah. Well, I hope to make it down.
That would be great. And if you do, if things improve and you're able to make it, we'd love to come out and say hello as well
Yeah.
and meet you in person.
That'd be great. That'd be
Now,
super.
we have what I wanted to do is we've got a couple of the things over here to taste that you guys that guests can come in here. And again, this is at the World Showplace, not the World Showcase, but it's the event center that is in between Canada and the UK Pavilion.
Yes.
Lots of times guests may be a little confused because not everyone has been in here, but it's a fabulous space. It's very
Yes.
nice to come in. It's air conditioned. There's tables to be used, and you can try out lots of things. So any guests that are coming into the Epcot Food and Wine Festival, the Taste of Epcot, you need to make sure you check in between Canada and UK and walk into this area and try these syrups. But before we actually try them, I wanted to kind of give you a chance. How do you guys prepare these? This is not just something that is
just maple syrup.
Yeah, this isn't just your normal maple
the original
syrup.
flavor maple syrup
Right.
is delicious. I will give you that. But the way that you guys create unique flavors, I was really surprised by and intrigued. So I know that our followers would love to hear a little bit more about that process.
So yeah, tell us exactly how you guys create these things we're about to taste.
Well, I wish I could say it was just a brilliant idea that I came up with, but that's not how it happened. So we started barrel aging our maple syrup in used rum, bourbon, and brandy barrels. And we had inadvertently forgot about 30 gallons of our maple syrup in a Applejack brandy barrel that was right next to our Rumford fireplace, which is the largest Rumford fireplace in North America. It measures, the opening is 10.5 feet wide and 7 feet tall. So this barrel was next to the fireplace. And when I was doing some housekeeping, I went to push the barrel and it was heavy. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I'd left some maple syrup in there for about a year.
Okay.
And so I tasted it and the flavor was just unbelievable. Prior to that, we were just aging it for maybe, 2 to 3 months. And the difference, because of the heat hitting that barrel, it actually chased what's called the devil's cut. That is the liquor that's trapped in the barrel out and chases it into the syrup and creates these barrel notes, if you will.
So it's a combination of not only the time, but also the heat that's involved with the process as well.
That's correct. And so I just coined the phrase fire infusion.
Yes.
So,
well, and I will say that's really a happy accident right there. Very much serendipity taking you a new direction, because the flavors that you get from that new process, I loved. Like we walked out with the bottle as soon as I was
could
like,
not walk away
he
without
was
a
like,
bottle to bring
oh,
home.
well, maybe we'll try that. I'm like, no, we're buying some right now and we're leaving with it. So
yeah.
So the idea that you've got a barrel that has been used for something else. Now you're storing it for longevity. You've got the heat involved. How much alcohol is really in your syrup?
We don't add any alcohol to it at all.
Mm-hmm.
All of that flavor, the notes and everything are actually coming out of the wood in that barrel. There's
so it's
no
not
liquor.
like an alcoholic.
Correct.
It's just the flavor that the alcohol
which
infuses
can be
into
confusing
the wood.
because when you taste it, the flavor is just full.
It is.
And it's hard to believe that this is just from the devil's cut, as you mentioned. So I think it's a great use. It's almost like a way of recycling and reusing something. Not only are you reusing the barrel, but you're getting the flavor from something that has already been processed and used in another product, but it's now making your syrup something that we've never experienced before.
Yes.
So it really does make for a great product overall. So
and you have 3 flavors here available for purchase, along with they have like a sample one that I think has a flavor that's not actually tasting.
So you've got 3 individual products you got here, and then you have a box that has 3 that are included. That includes a special flavor you made primarily, or first of all, for Disneyland, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it was That is the Napa Valley Red, and we crafted that for Disneyland's food and wine specifically. And then when Disneyland closed because of COVID, we took all of that inventory and sent it to Orlando.
Wow. So you guys, we got to steal something from Disneyland here. So that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice as well. So we've actually, Carrie was nice enough to provide us, I'm going to reach right over here. She provided us with a little bit of sampling of all three of the products that you guys have here. And we thought we'd kind of try them out. And while we're trying them, maybe you can tell us, we're actually going to be taking our mask off. We are isolated away from everyone else. We're here in the corner.
We're far away.
Okay.
And we're gonna put some food in our mouth. So I think we're allowed to take our mask off for the time being. But we're going to try, the first one is a traditional, and I think it's referred to as a grade B, if you want to elaborate on that.
Tell us about the difference between grade Bs, because Carrie was kind of telling me that grade B doesn't mean it's less than A. How is grade A different than B?
That can be confusing, and the industry as a whole is trying to do away with the term grade B.
Yes.
Because the consumers are kind of confused with that, because we were all brought up in the grading scale A, B, C, D, F in school.
Yes.
And so when you say grade B, it sounds like it's inferior to A, but that's not the case. It's not the case. Yeah, it's just a grading scale. So in the very beginning of the sugar season, the first runs will always yield a lighter, more delicate maple syrup, which is categorized. There's 3 subcategories. They're all A light amber, A medium amber, and A dark amber. Okay. And then it jumps over to B grade. And there are no subgrades within B. It goes A light, A medium, A dark, and then jumps over to B. The B comes towards the end of the season and is much more, it's darker in color, more rich in maple flavor.
Yeah.
And that is what a lot of chefs and homemakers want. The majority, my observation is probably 95%.
It has a lot more flavor to it. So.
Yeah, this has a lot of depth, and it has.
So it smells. It's almost backwards of what most people think is like. Well, if you're going to be, like you said, your mind thinks you're going to a lower grade, but in reality, theirs has a lot more of a robust flavor to it. It's much thicker, the way that I'm accustomed to it, and it does. I mean, I would consider this.
I would much rather want a grade B.
I would much rather have a grade B.
Yeah. And funny thing is, a lot of children, if we have A grade and B grade to taste, 90% of the kids want the A grade and 90% of the adults want the B grade. I always hear the comment that the kids say to their parents, "I want the A because it's sweeter," and it's not actually sweeter. It's not any more sweeter than the B, but it plays on their palate in such a way that it comes off as though it's sweeter. And
it may be something they're more accustomed to because of the fact that it is a little bit lighter in the fact, and I know
maybe it's closer to like a pancake.
And lots of children these days are used to the store shelf syrups where it's going to be to that effect. So but still, it's just an excellent syrup, and
by itself, it's just an amazing syrup that you guys produce.
This is
thank you.
To kind of tell you where I come from. I come from South Georgia, and it was very customary growing up as a child that we didn't necessarily have desserts. Desserts for our meals were pretty much whatever biscuits were left over from the meal were then put back on the plate, and then we got the maple syrup out, the sugar cane syrup as well. And those were lots of times we had a lot of cane farms growing up in South Georgia, and it was
like an activity
very popular in the fall. We would all go over to these places, these family farms, and we would grind cane sugar, the sugar cane, and then boil it up, and that's what we would have for dessert. So for me, this is very much a very sweet
It's much closer
idea.
To what he grew up
Not
with
opposed to this
more flavor.
thin little stuff that you get in everywhere else. I mean, this is what you consider to be a really good, hearty syrup. So that's the grade B.
Yes.
That in itself is good, even if we stopped right there.
Yes.
I mean, it's a great syrup. But we've got 2 others over here as well. The first one, the next one here is it's a Kentucky. Is it a Kentucky bourbon?
Kentucky bourbon. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my farm is only about just a little over an hour from the Ohio River, from Kentucky, and so we have access to a lot of great Kentucky bourbon distillers. But we specifically have worked with Woodford Reserve and Buffalo Trace. and we will mix our bourbons. We have another special a bourbon called a Patriarch, and that we use Pappy Van Winkle bourbon barrels for that.
Okay.
And we sell that on our website. So
Smell
for
the bourbon.
Oh, it's
just
very much
in
the aromas of it. You can immediately identify that that's what that is it a bourbon product. But
yeah,
it's got all the flavor, but it doesn't have that harshness. That
right.
You know,
like if you were actually going to drink bourbon, you'd get like a little burn down your throat.
yeah, there's
Right.
there's no burn.
This is
It's
like
just
the
the
flavor
of it.
without the burn. So
I always
it's
say that.
really sweet.
I always say
It's-
that at events. I always say it's like bourbon without the burn.
Yes, yes.
It's like Disney food. It's like all the great stuff, but it doesn't have any of the calories. You know, it's got all the good stuff, but none of the negative. So now I am the evidence of the fact that Disney has got some calories in it. But
Bourbon is his favorite. So.
I love this flavor. And again, it's got it's not as thick as some syrups.
Yep.
But again, I love everything about this one.
Yeah.
Now, here's the problem when we first tried it. As much as I liked the bourbon and the flavor of the bourbon, I was shocked by the fact that I loved the next one just a slight bit more. And it confused me that I did.
Yeah.
So we tried both of these. I loved the bourbon, and then we tried the brandy, the
yes,
apple.
It's apple brandy.
Applejack, yeah.
Applejack
brandy. And it's
So those barrels come from a distiller in Starlight, Indiana, called Starlight Distillers, which is owned by Ted and Dana Huber. Our family have been going to their family farm for many years to cut a Christmas tree and that type of thing. You know, everybody's heard, you know, over the river and through the woods.
Woods, yes.
To Huber's farm we go, and that's what we would do. We'd go down to the Huber's farm, and they have since started a distillery, Starlight Distillery, and have crafted some incredible spirits there.
Yes.
Ted has kind of taken me under his wing in the very beginning when we started doing the barrel aging, because there were a lot of things that I wasn't aware of within the distillery industry. I was under the false impression that bourbon can only be made in Kentucky. And a lot of people think that's the truth, but it's not. Bourbon can be made anywhere in the United States, but there's only one place you can make Kentucky bourbon.
Yes.
Yes.
That's in Kentucky.
Yes.
So
That's sort of like wine. You can make wine anywhere, but you can only make California wine in California.
in California,
But
it's like champagne. You
yes.
can only make champagne in the region of Champagne in Europe, you know. So a lot of distilleries have just done an incredible job. The Hubers have done an incredible job in crafting that Applejack brandy, which is very popular. We have collaborations with High West Whiskey. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get in trouble for not mentioning everybody, but we worked with a lot of different distilleries. Garrison Brothers in Texas, Treaty Oak in Texas. Did I mention High West Whiskey? There's a really small distiller close to the Wind River Valley the Wind River Range in Pinedale, Wyoming, called Cowboy Country. And they make an incredible bourbon whiskey. It's unbelievable. And they're a very small, just south of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Very good.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so we collaborate with all these different distilleries all over the country.
So you collaborate with them to get barrels that they have used for their alcoholic beverages. And I will say that several of the brands that you mentioned, I have heard of, like their premium brands that you, like if you were going to a bar to order a drink, you'd pay a little extra. To begin with, these are some amazing.
You're starting off with a high-end product.
Yes.
And making your high-end product.
So
it's
you
starting
wind up
with the
the
best of
flavor of those in your maple syrups. And I mean, I can definitely taste it. I mean,
so I'm curious, do you have any of your your collaborators ever want some of your syrup afterwards so that they can enjoy
Do you
it?
guys trade? Like, is that part of your agreements? They get to taste what
Do
their
they get to have some of
product
your
ends
syrup
up like?
afterwards? You know, now that you've used their barrels.
Yeah, we've done that with a few distilleries. Dan Garrison with Garrison Brothers. So we took all these used whiskey barrels and then returned them to him after we aged them. There's another distiller up here in Indiana, and we've done that with Huber Starlight. Hard Truth in Brown County, Indiana. We've done some a rum barrel collaboration. And when we were finished with that, after a year, we gave the barrel back to them, and they're going to be doing something fun with that. New Belgium Brewery. That's another thing that a lot of brewers call us asking if they could have our used barrels. But we'll either give them back to the distiller that we got them from originally, or we'll repurpose them again, and we'll put a vinegar inside. And we have not released any of those vinegars that have been aging for years.
Oh wow, I can't
Like
imagine what that's going to be like.
This is like balsamic vinegars.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so we have a limited selection here at EPCOT of your flavors that you have created. But if they go to your website, there's a much larger selection, correct?
And that's burtonsmaplewoodfarm.com, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
So,
and we're going to be adding another several more lines of maple syrup very, very soon.
So we've got a call to action here between two major things. First of all, if you're coming to EPCOT here in the next couple of months, and you're going to be able to come to EPCOT for the Food and Wine Festival, you're going to need to come into the World Showplace and make sure you walk up and talk to Carrie or someone else, or maybe even lucky enough you can be here when Tim shows up. And you need to try these syrups because they I can talk about them all day long, but you need to try them to really enjoy them. And then you can grab a bottle or even really that cool little set of all three and take it with you. Or if you're not going to find yourself coming to Disney World here in the next few months,
maybe your circumstances are similar to Tim and you're not able to travel here
totally
right now,
understand about that.
Or travel's not in your budget right now.
Don't worry about it. You can
go directly to his website.
You can say, you know, Chris and Susan have already talked about how good the syrups are. I don't need to try them. I know they're excellent. Just go straight down to burtonsmaplewoodfarm.com and then you can grab them and have them sent to you. And they will come through. You introduced this earlier to your supply chain manager there.
Dan.
Making sure,
That's
yes,
right.
The U.S. Postal Service guy. Yeah,
Dan will make sure that you get some syrups coming in the mail to you as well. So
that's right. You know, something that Carrie and I had talked about, you guys have been so supportive and we really, really appreciate it. So we're going to take it one step further. And for anybody that orders any of our maple syrups from us, if in the comment section, if they put hashtag here with the ears, they're going to get a free bottle of maple syrup, a 1.75 ounce maple leaf bottle.
Okay.
That's awesome. We'll make sure we'll put that into the description of this video as well and share that information out. And we appreciate you kind of taking care of our followers, and I know that they're going to enjoy anything they try from your selection of maple syrup. So Tim, thank you for the time this afternoon. I know it's been a little bit of a chore getting things together, but I appreciate the fact that we can kind of hear from you. And I hope that very soon you can come down here and be here with Carrie as well. And we hope that we can meet you when you do come down. So
that sounds great. And thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure meeting you, Tim. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure you come out here and try some of the Burton's Maplewood Farm syrups and go to their website and check them out as well. Thanks again, Tim. You guys have a great afternoon and we'll see you guys in the parks.
Bye.